Have you ever wondered what it would be like if gods walked among us? What if the rulers of the land were not just men, but divine beings with power over the sun, the sky, and the afterlife itself? For the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't just a fantasy. It was their reality. This is the story of the rise of Egypt, a civilization born from the fertile mud of the Nile, where pharaohs were gods and pyramids touched the heavens. Our journey begins over 5,000 years ago, along the banks of the world's longest river, the Nile. Before the pharaohs, before the grand temples, Egypt was a land of two halves. Upper Egypt in the south, a narrow valley of cliffs and sand, and Lower Egypt in the north, a vast green delta where the Nile meets the Mediterranean Sea. These two lands were distinct, with different crowns, different gods, and different ways of life. For centuries, they existed separately, often in conflict. But then, a legendary figure emerged from the south, a king known to history as Narmer, or perhaps Menes. Around 3100 BC, this warrior king embarked on a conquest, uniting the two lands of Egypt under a single crown for the first time. This act of unification wasn't just a political victory. It was a cosmic event. It marked the dawn of the world's first great nation-state and the beginning of the dynastic period. The famous Narmer palette, one of the oldest historical documents in the world, depicts this very moment. The king wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt, about to strike down an enemy from the north, while on the other side he wears the red crown of a unified Lower Egypt. A new era had begun. With the land united, the concept of divine kingship took root. The pharaoh wasn't just a ruler. He was the living embodiment of the god Horus, the falcon-headed god of the sky. He was the intermediary between the gods and humanity, responsible for maintaining the cosmic order of truth, balance, and justice. If the Nile flooded just right, bringing fertile soil for the crops, it was because the pharaoh had pleased the gods. If disaster struck, it was a sign that Mat was disturbed. The pharaoh's power was absolute, his word was law, and his divinity was unquestioned. This belief system was the bedrock upon which the entire Egyptian civilization was built. This newfound stability and centralized power unleashed an incredible wave of innovation. This period, known as the Old Kingdom, is often called the Age of the Pyramids. It all started with a genius, a man named Imhotep. He was the vizier, or chief minister, to King Djoser of the Third Dynasty. Djoser wanted a tomb, but not just any tomb. He wanted something that would last for eternity. Imhotep, a brilliant architect, physician, and engineer truly, the world's first Renaissance man conceived of a revolutionary idea. Instead of the traditional flat-topped mud-brick tombs called mastabas, he decided to stack them, one on top of the other, each one smaller than the last. The result was the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, the world's first monumental stone building. It was a staircase to the heavens, a physical representation of the king's journey to the afterlife to join the gods. Imhotep's creation set off a pyramid-building frenzy that would last for centuries. The techniques evolved rapidly. The pharaoh Sneferu, founder of the Fourth Dynasty, was a particularly ambitious builder. He experimented with pyramid design, first building the bent pyramid, which famously changes angle halfway up, likely due to structural instability. Undeterred, he perfected his technique with the red pyramid, the first successful true smooth-sided pyramid. But it was Sneferu's son, Khufu, who would commission the most famous structure in human history, the Great Pyramid of Giza. For thousands of years, it was the tallest man-made structure on Earth. Imagine the scene. Tens of thousands of skilled laborers, not slaves, as is often depicted, but paid workers, farmers who worked during the Nile's annual flood when their fields were underwater. They quarried, transported, and lifted over 2 million massive stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, with astonishing precision. The Great Pyramid was not just a tomb. It was a resurrection machine perfectly aligned with the cardinal points and celestial constellations, designed to ensure the pharaoh's soul could ascend to the heavens and sail across the sky with the sun god Re for all eternity. Alongside Khufu's pyramid stand the pyramids of his son Khafre and grandson Menkaure, guarded by the enigmatic Great Sphinx, a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human, believed to be the face of Khafre himself. These Giza monuments are the ultimate expression of the pharaoh's power and his divine status. They were testaments in stone, shouting to the world and to the gods that the kings of Egypt were their peers. Life for the average Egyptian revolved around the Nile and the gods. They were farmers, craftsmen, and soldiers. Their lives were governed by 3 seasons: Akhet, the flooding season; Peret, the growing season; and Shemu, the harvest season. They worshipped a complex pantheon of gods who controlled every aspect of existence. Ra, the sun god, who sailed across the sky each day in his solar barge. Osiris, the god of the underworld, who offered the promise of eternal life. Isis, his devoted wife, a powerful magician and mother goddess. Anubis, the jackal-headed god who guided souls through the afterlife. The Egyptians believed deeply in an afterlife that was a continuation of their life on earth, but better. This is why they perfected the art of mummification to preserve the body so the soul, or Ka and Ba, could recognize it and be reunited in the next world. Tombs were filled with everything a person might need: food, furniture, tools, and even magical spells from the Book of the Dead to help them navigate the dangers of the underworld. The Old Kingdom was a period of incredible confidence and achievement, but it couldn't last forever. The immense cost of building pyramids and maintaining the court began to drain the royal treasury. At the same time, the power of regional governors, or nomarchs, grew stronger, challenging the central authority of the pharaoh. A series of low Nile floods led to famine and social unrest, and the divine king's credibility began to crumble. By around 2181 BC, the Old Kingdom collapsed, plunging Egypt into a period of chaos and division known as the First Intermediate Period. The gods, it seemed, had withdrawn their favor. But the spirit of Egypt was not broken. The dream of a unified land ruled by a divine king was too powerful to disappear. After a century of turmoil, a new line of powerful kings from the city of Thebes in Upper Egypt rose to prominence. Menhotep II reunified the country, ushering in the Middle Kingdom, a golden age of revival and artistic flourishing. The pharaoh was still a god-king, but now he was also portrayed as a good shepherd responsible for the well-being of his people. This period saw a great expansion of trade, impressive new building projects, and a flowering of literature with classic tales that are still read today. But like before, this stability was eventually challenged, this time by outsiders. A group of people from Western Asia, known as the Hyksos, infiltrated the Nile Delta. They brought with them new military technology, like the horse-drawn chariot and the composite bow. For the first time, Egypt was ruled by foreign kings. Once again, from the southern city of Thebes, a new generation of warrior pharaohs rose to expel the invaders. This victory heralded the beginning of the New Kingdom, the most glorious and well-known period of Egyptian history. This was the age of empire, the age of legendary pharaohs like Hatshepsut, the woman who ruled as king; Akhenaten, the heretic who tried to change Egypt's religion; Tutankhamun, the boy king whose tomb was discovered almost intact; and Ramesses the Great, the ultimate warrior pharaoh and master builder. This was Egypt at its peak, a military and economic superpower whose influence stretched from Nubia in the south to Syria in the north. The gods didn't just walk in Egypt anymore. Their empire now spanned the known world. The rise of ancient Egypt is more than just a story of pyramids and pharaohs. It's a story of how a civilization's core beliefs, the divinity of their king and the promise of eternal life fueled an unprecedented explosion of creativity, ambition, and power. They transformed a simple river valley into an empire that would captivate the world for millennia. Their legacy, written in stone and gold, continues to inspire awe and wonder, a timeless reminder of a time when gods truly walked among men. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient Egypt, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into history.